playoff time in the UFL. Welcome back to the Defending Football Show. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're finally here. We're at week 10. It's playoff time. The season is technically over, and we got 4 teams left. One of them is going to come out victorious this year. I'll be doing a quick playoff game preview towards the end of the video, but real quick, let's recap week 10 and get that over with. The Orlando Storm defeat the DC Defenders back-to-back 29-23. I was actually at this game, last game in Audi Field for a home game for the DC Defenders, unless they're in the championship game, of course. But this game was definitely a roller coaster of emotions for a DC Defenders fan. As everyone knows, I've been clamoring for Jason Bean to be the starting quarterback for the DC Defenders. I'm not the only one, a lot of people have been saying that. And despite his performance, I'm going to stand by that and say he's still our best chance to win going forward. He probably should have started a few weeks ago to get his bearings, but it is what it is. We're in the situation that we are in as Defenders fans. And obviously props to the Storm. You know, they took it to us and they won the game, so give them respect there. But a lot of this was self-inflicted wounds, and that's pretty obvious if you watch this game. Starting off with Jack Plummer, he threw for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. But DC did hold him to 50% completion percentage. He threw some really nice balls though, and he is a very accurate quarterback. So overall, he did enough to give his team the win, and he's just good at distributing the ball. That's all they ask him to do. He's great at that. We didn't really let them run the ball. They ended with 77 yards, but their leading rusher only had 33 yards. Cam Camper really showed up this game. 3 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown for the Storm. Chris Rowland also had a touchdown against his former team again, unfortunately. So props to the Storm, you know, they played well. But for DC, it was just mental errors, mistakes, turnovers, bad decisions. So props to the Storm, you know, they played a good, clean game. They did what they do. But at the end of the day, DC really shot themselves in the foot this game. The turnovers were egregious. Bad special teams play. Quarterback play was very suspect at times throwing the ball. And overall, you could tell, you know, DC, they're missing their leader. They're missing Jordan Ta'amu in the locker room. And it's like, what do you expect us to do? We're doing the best we can with what we got. And, you know, we have a shot, and that's all you have to ask for. That being said, Jason Bean did start this game. He played the entire thing. He went 13 for 28, 165, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, one of which was a very bad pick 6, and a 46% completion percentage. Yikes. Now, those numbers are not very good, and a lot of decisions need to be cleaned up, and a lot of passes need to be cleaned up as well. Going forward for Jason Bean, he just needs to be more accurate with the football. A lot of his footballs were inaccurate, but it wasn't a total nightmare. He rushed for 11 attempts for 116 yards on the day and a long of 47. So, you know, he has some wheels on him. You see the athletic ability, but it's really important that this week we got to take it 100% seriously, taking care of the football, especially on that pick 6. You know, Jason Bean rolls out. Cornell Powell is wide open in the corner of the end zone there. I was watching that play. I saw him wide open, and I can't believe that play ended up in a pick 6. You know, that kind of took the wind out of the sails for the DC Defenders because we were moving the ball. We could move the ball on the Storm here. We're playing them a 3rd game in a row. So, I mean, who knows what could happen here. Speaking of Powell, by the way, 70 yards on 5 receptions for him leading the team, and Briley Moore got a touchdown last play of the game, so that was pretty cool for Briley Moore, getting him back in the fold, getting a touchdown. Not to mention Deion Jackson, Abram Smith, and Xavier Valladay all had around 30-something rushing yards as well, and then Xavier Valladay had a touchdown, so props to him for that. All 3 running backs are balling out this year, so shout out to you guys. Brian Abraham and Derek Parrish both had a sack in this game, so that's awesome for those guys. And Derek Roberson forced a very important fumble in this game to keep DC rallied and in this game. That guy has such a high motor, man. And not to mention, Brandon Smith led the team in tackles with 6 tackles, 5 of them being solo, and he forced a fumble as well. Brandon Smith is a true difference maker on this DC Defenders defense. I feel like he doesn't get enough praise, but man, he has been balling out this year. Overall, this game was very competitive, and the Storm really didn't do much in the first few quarters of this game. The DC defense showed that they can hang with anybody. Unfortunately, the offense just did not help them out in this one. And if a few plays went differently, this game could have totally been flipped here. But But it is what it is. DC needs to focus, forget about this game, put it in the past. You're playing this team for a third time in a row. You know their tendencies, you know what they like to do, and it's time to get creative and lock in. Jason Bean is going to have to play the game of his life to beat the Orlando Storm, and most important of all, don't turn the ball over. And then you got to get some turnovers. Also, we got to make our field goals, man. Matt McCrean's got to lock in for this playoff stretch. No more missed field goals. And can we block on the punt team? I mean, come on. So that game was a little bit of a mess for the DC Defenders. We end the season at 5-5. Not exactly where I thought we would be. But of course, we lost our franchise quarterback. So entering the playoffs on a 4-game losing streak is not exactly what you'd write up in this script here. But we'll see what happens going forward. Let's move on to the next game of the week. All right, the Dallas Renegades decide, hey, let's break our 6-game losing streak against the St. Louis Battlehawks. Renegades win 20-16. Very interesting watching this game. Austin Reed went 162 for 3 touchdowns. He looked pretty good in this one. 57% completion as well. So you know what? Nothing really to play for at this point of the season. But good football is good football. Gotta respect it. Austin Reed looked pretty good. The real surprising thing is Luis Perez is all over the place. He has not really strung together any games here that make Battlehawks fans, at least in my opinion, feel confident going into the playoffs here. He did throw for 274 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Yes, his yards are great, but man, the turnovers really look bad, and he's been taking a lot of sacks. We all know he's not very mobile. I mean, whatever it is, he's not clicking in this offense or something's going on, but that he better lock in next week because they're going to be facing a Kings team that is hotter than hot right now. And unfortunately for them, St. Louis might be a first-round exit again. I'm not going to harp on this game too much, although the Battlehawks just did not look very good. They didn't look like they could impose their will on a team. Their defense looked a little sloppy at times, giving up 3 passing touchdowns. Kind of crazy for their defense. Overall, I know there's some Battlehawks fans that watch this show every week, so comment down below, how confident are you going against the Kings this week? Anyway, let's move on to the next game of the week here. It's the Houston Gamblers playing spoiler to the Birmingham Stallions, 26-13. Houston Gamblers, baby, let's go. I know Dakota Wolf is happy about this, the certified Stallions hater at this point. And guess what? John Rice Plumlee started for Houston, and he played good enough to win. 118 yards and 1 interception with a 46% completion percentage. I guess he played good enough to win. I mean, not a great day, but obviously a very athletic player. And he gave them enough to win this game. This win is mostly on the back of Marcus Major, running back for the Houston Gamblers. 8 carries, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But John Rice Plumlee, 77 yards on the ground and a touchdown, so he's contributing there. I'm pretty sure the Houston Gamblers set a new record in the UFL for rushing yards in a game for 278 yards against the Stallions. On the other hand, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 112 yards, a touchdown, and 48% completion percentage for him as well. I mean, he has just looked abysmal the past few weeks. The league has figured him out. Their leading rusher was Snoop Connor with 25 yards, so they couldn't really do much on the ground. They haven't been able to all season. But Jaden Mickens did lead the team with 43 yards in the air, former DC defender. Overall, the Stallions, they had a pick 6 in this game, but so besides that, I mean, they basically barely scored in this game at all. The Houston Gamblers kind of controlled this game throughout, running the ball, and what are the Stallions going to do? They kind of rolled over, and they weren't inspired enough. They lost their last 2 games of the season to get pushed out of the playoffs. They controlled their own destiny, and now they let the Kings over them. I mean, what are we doing in Birmingham? How do fans feel? I know they feel like the league is against them or whatever, but you choked it. I mean, you weren't good enough this year, and that's pretty obvious. So they're going to be watching the postseason from the comfort of their own couch. Congrats to Houston for getting a nice win here. I think the Gamblers were underrated all year. I think quarterback problems really held them back. So 4-6 for the Gamblers, not bad. All right, last game of the week, the Louisville Kings destroy the Aviators 42-27. The Aviators just could not do much with Jalen Morton in there this time. The crazy thing is, Chandler Rogers didn't even play in this game. You got N'Kosi Perry starting the game, 89 yards and a touchdown for him, with a 61% completion percentage. And then Mike DeLillo from DC, 58 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but a 75% completion percentage. Honestly, quarterback play was not good for the Kings. How they scored 42 points is crazy. Ian Wheeler decided to go off for 99 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Sheridan also made his mark, 53 yards on the ground for 2 touchdowns. Not to mention Isaiah Winstead really showed up too, 65 yards in the air with a touchdown. He also had a big play of 43 yards in the air, so he played very well. We know he's a good receiver. Now on the other hand, Jalen Morton threw for 221, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and yeah, a 36.8% completion percentage. Yikes. That was a big problem last week, was the completion percentage. Even worse now. Tua Tawa did play good for Columbus though, great running back, 70 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And the receiver room was kind of all over the place, but Kiki Chisholm did get a nice touchdown. So, Kiki Chisholm, very talented player. That being said, Columbus just kind of looked like a mess. They couldn't get much going on offense. They still scored 27 points, but man, Louisville just imposed their will on them. And I think it's pretty clear that the Louisville Kings are the hottest team in the UFL, and I'm very glad that we don't have to play them this week. I'm willing to bet that they will be in the UFL championship, so I'm hoping DC makes it as well. But man, the Aviators end up basically having the worst record in the league. Now real quick, let's go over the Defending Football Show's power rankings for Week 10, and then we're going to go into a quick preview for next week. At number 8, you have the Columbus Aviators. They dropped down 2 spots. I mean, they just are so inconsistent this year. It sucks. Worst record in the league. What can you say? They didn't really go out on a high note either. I don't know what to say, Someone's got to be number 8, and I think the Aviators make sense in that spot. At number 7, the Dallas Renegades. They move up 1 spot just because they won and showed that they can play good football, and they finally decided to do it. They were pretty close the last few weeks. They just couldn't finish the game, but I got to give them some respect. They played pretty decent this year at times. I don't think it makes sense to have them as the worst team in the league. At number 6, the Stallions. You guys end up on a cold streak. Just a disappointing way to end the season. I know the season didn't go good. I know the season went as bad as you think it could in the beginning. Then you guys get this false hope and then kind of crash and burn. So, that kind of sucks for you guys, but I think 6 is a fair spot for you. At number 5, the Houston Gamblers. I mean, as I said, underrated team, bad quarterback play because you had so many shuffling quarterbacks. I mean, did you ever play one quarterback for 3 games this whole season in a row? I don't think they did. So, that's hard to build momentum. That's pretty much why they're here. Number 5, I think that's respect for them. At number 4, it's clear. It's the DC Defenders. We're on a cold streak, clearly. A 4-game cold streak here. But that doesn't mean we're out of it. We're still in the playoffs. Anything can happen. And if we lock in, we just got to win 2 games. Crazier things have happened. But that being said, I would consider us one of the 2 weaker teams in the playoffs just because of our quarterback situation. Not much you could do. We are where we are. But Jason Bean has the talent. So if he can put it together for 2 full games, completely for 2 games, this could be a Cinderella story. And, you could have a Kings DC championship revenge with Jason Bean. That'd be pretty awesome. That's a great storyline right there. Hoping it happens. But, DC is at number 4 for now. I can't justify putting them any higher, even though, I'm kind of a fan of the Defenders. And number 3, you have the St. Louis Battlehawks. They fall from grace a little bit here. They just don't look very good. They're kind of limping into the playoffs, kind of similar to DC, except the problem is they don't have a, injured quarterback problem. They have their guy that they traded for. So what's your excuse? I don't know. I guess you're at 3 for now, but, I could have put you at 4. So we'll see how you go. It is what it is. You're at number 3. I think that's fair. At number 2, the Louisville Kings. I really debated on putting them at number 1, honestly. I might regret not doing that, but they're the hottest team in the league for sure. No one wants to face them. St. Louis is probably shaking in their boots a little bit. I know they're playing at home, but you don't really want to see this team right now. So the Kings are very dangerous, and I don't want to see them, but I think 2 is very fair. If not, they could be 1. And at number 1, I'm going to keep it the Orlando Storm at number 1. Although they don't play the most exciting brand of football, they take their shots when they need to. They make big plays when they have to. And they don't turn the ball over. So that is what it is. They play great football. Best record in the league. Can't take it away from them. Congratulations. Is this the team of destiny for Anthony Becht? We will find out, but I think it's fair to keep them at number 1. I know Dakota's smiling somewhere right now. But real quick, let's preview the DC Defenders versus Orlando Storm game. I'm going to be doing this with Dakota on his channel, so go check that out when it comes out in a few days from now. I'm just going to give little snippets here because I'm running out of time on this show. The DC Defenders do not look very good right now. We've had a lot of turnover problems, a lot of mistakes, but playing the same team 3 times in a row, there's something about it. It's very tough to beat a team twice in a row in a season. Beating them 3 times in a row, very difficult. So the Storm are kind of in a pickle here where, you know, you gotta win and you feel the pressure's on. You're supposed to be the head honcho team here. You're supposed to just destroy the DC Defenders. But yet, we do stick around with you. We have the talent. We have the dogs to stick around with the Orlando Storm, and I think Storm fans know that. If our quarterback position can lock in and Fred Keiss calls one of the games of his life, which he's done many times in big games here, the DC Defenders have a real shot to win this game. Would I bet them to win? Probably not, but at the end of the day, there's something about this game that's got me smirking a little bit because I know some funky business can always happen in the UFL. They ended up moving this game back to Florida after putting it in Columbus for some reason. Obviously, that didn't make much sense and it was embarrassing. Of course it was. This is professional football. You got to play at least in your home state. So they're playing in Daytona, Florida. I believe it's a high school stadium. Holds about 9K. Actually, kind of a perfect amount of people. But I will say, everyone's expecting Orlando to run away with this one. I wouldn't count out DC here. Crazy things happen, and this team has a clutch gene. Kind of due for a win. 4 losses in a row? I mean, I don't know. Moving on, you got the Louisville Kings versus the St. Louis Battlehawks in the Battle Dome. And man, this game is going to kind of go, the Kings' way. And honestly, I don't really think the Battlehawks have a great shot in this one. Hakeem Butler's going to try to keep them in it the best they can. But if Luis Perez plays any bit of how he's been playing with the Battlehawks here, Louisville may absolutely destroy them. I know the Battlehawks are like a good team this year, but man, recently they have not been looking good. Not impressive at all, and the Kings have been on a complete hot streak. They're rallying behind Chris Redmond here and Chandler Rogers. I just don't think there's a force that can stop them from at least getting to the championship game. So honestly, I'll pick the Kings here. St. Louis definitely has a shot, but history has told me that it's not going to happen. And honestly, I don't think that that's going to change. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below. I got to drink some lemon juice now. By the way, I will be at the championship game, so I cannot wait to see some of you there. Hopefully, I can see some of you guys come up to me. You know, I'm friendly. I don't bite. Take a picture, talk some ball, and I'm excited to be there. I've never been to a UFL championship game before, so I'm hoping it's going to be awesome. All right, enough stalling. Let's drink this thing. Doesn't get any better. DC, you've been having me drinking lemon juice for a full month, bro. Come on. Anyway, I'm going to try to wash this off my tongue, and I'm going to get out of here. So for the love of football, defend football, baby.